classes and groups coming all the time. Gone?
Ron. Okay. Good evening. This is Kunchap Tarduling, the Tibet Center. It's our English name. And this is our twice weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma. And this, in fact, if you live in the New York City area, this is our last class here at the Settlement House on Houston and Broadway after 12 years. So it's a bit of bittersweet here. Thank you, thank you. What are we clapping for? The ending of the class. People are glad to see us go.
Closing performance.
12 years. We have tapes 2012. This is 24. Yeah. Got a good run, right? Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Let's get down to business. All the prayers we say are on our website in the FAQ section. If you have anyone for us you want us to pray for who's passed away recently, put their names in the chat box so everyone will see them. So at the end of the class, when we do the Sutra, the Recollection of Three Jewels, people will remember them and pray for them. So tonight, we'll start in 2 seconds. We're again featuring the Secular Ethics book, Beyond Religion, written by His Holiness Dalai Lama, plus a little introductory vignette. What is it? What can we call this? Not a vignette. Advice from His Holiness. So we'll start. The first prayer we say is prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West, written by the predecessor of our current director, Yongdzin Ling Rinpoche. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse all areas throughout length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the Victorious One's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas, called profound illumination, and at the same time noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, "How should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge?" And Avalokiteshvara answered, "Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge, and since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear, They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayat Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. Well, Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva, mahasattva, should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the bodhisattva mahasattva, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Navalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. Now, refuge and bodhisattva vow, which is in this collection, is called Generating Bodhicitta. We say these verses 3 times. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So, this being the last Tuesday night here, we will continue Tuesday night, however, from the parsonage in South Orange. So there'll be 2 online appearances in the week. Everyone is welcome to come to the parsonages in South Orange. Go to our website. The instructions are there. It's 35 minutes from Penn Station. The leaves are turning. It's very nice. We serve food free. Anyway, that's it. That's as far as we go. No drinks. So before we tackle the main attraction, which is this book called Beyond Religion, written 2012 by His Holiness, out of compassion for those who don't believe in any religion, don't have a religion, are not amenable to it, but still suffer. He's giving them advice to make their lives better, and while not saying it, their future lives will be better. But first, from this wonderful anthology called On the Path to Enlightenment, collected by the Venerable Mathieu Ricard. It's a collection of all the different the great Tibetan masters, it's called, and all the 4 sects. So it's a nice anthology. This is from the 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso. I figured we go out totally on the 14th Dalai Lama theme. I don't go out from this place. So here it is. This is very interesting, and it's meant to be thought of carefully. The mind is malleable. In other words, it is capable of change. That's a big point. Most people don't have confidence that they can change and actually have a different outlook than the heavy outlook they're walking around with, especially they're depressed or whatever. So the mind can change. That's it. In fact, it has to change. Everything changes. So he said, so he continues, so we need to learn to see how we can transform it. It's an active thing. We need to identify the ways to achieve that transformation and then put them into action. These methods exist, and you could find out about them, of course, at the Tibet Center. Samsara, the circle of existences, and nirvana, the state beyond it, are not like geographical locations far from one another. They are two states of mind. This is very important. Samsara and nirvana are two states of mind. Very important. Samsara is what? A deviation from knowledge. True, authentic knowledge. A distorted vision of reality that makes the mind the slave of negative emotions. A distorted vision of reality that makes the mind the slave of negative emotions, while nirvana is a state of inner freedom, free of any conceptual and emotional obstacles. All things, including nirvana, arise from causes and conditions. To find happiness, it is indispensable to have a correct view of the nature of mind and the world. A correct view of the nature of mind, the nature of the world. And of course, at the Tibet Center, you will learn this. I'll keep plugging. So anyway, someone who has a wrong view about that nature cannot transform themselves to attain liberation. You have to know what authentically is, and not what you project erroneously. Very big point. What is meant by, quote, right view is not faith or believing in a particular dharma. This is a shocking thing, but it's not faith or believing in a particular dogma, rather, but a clear understanding that is reached through thoroughly examining reality, a very mature scientific approach. This kind of examination will refute the belief in the independent existence of things, which is the root of our distorted vision of the world, and replace it with the right view. Things are dependent on each other. They're not isolated entities that don't react with any. There's no such thing. But we project that. We think that's the way it is. This is that, that's this. No. Acquiring the right view implies a recognition of the nature of Buddhahood. It recognizes the recognition that the nature of Buddha is the essence of our own mind. The nature of Buddhahood is the essence of our own mind. Our fundamental cognitive ability, luminous, and here luminous refers to the clarity and lucidity of the fundamental nature of consciousness that is not obscured by veils of ignorance and mental constructs. We have this pure consciousness in us. We're not aware of it, it's covered up, and we don't go looking for it. But it's there. It's our birthright. It is pure and without confusion. It also involves identifying the factors that keep us from perceiving that nature, so that it becomes possible for us to remove them. So again, as we say 10,000 times here, the purification of the mind and the changing of our mind doesn't involve going out and getting something. It involves clearing away to see what we already have. Like digging in dirt to realize we have a tremendously valuable hunk of gold or diamond, whatever. You don't go around here looking there, looking there. Turn your focus within. It's very healthy, even at the beginning. So that's from His Holiness. It's from page 35 of this wonderful book, On the Path to Enlightenment. Thank you, Mathieu Ricard, the Venerable Mathieu Ricard, the Reverend. Okay. So back to last lecture, where we left off. So His Holiness left with this quote, a Tibetan statement. We're talking about contentment. There is a state, this is from page 145. I said this last week, we're just repeating what we said at the last Wednesday night. It's very easy to understand this. There is a saying in Tibetan that at the door of the miserable rich man sleeps the contented beggar.
What?
At the door of the miserable rich man sleeps the contented beggar. Talking about contentment. The point is, His Holiness now says, explained, is not that poverty is a virtue, or it's very nice to sleep out in front of the guys. No. But that happiness comes not from wealth, but from setting limits on our desires and living within those limits with satisfaction. So again, the internal discipline. People comment, whatever you think. We see a lot of people sleeping at the door of rich houses. But I wonder if they're content. As we walk through the streets, you see the homeless in their cardboard beds and stuff.
But the people that seemed homeless when I traveled in India, like 12 years ago, there seemed to be less misery. I mean, there was misery.
Yeah, well, there's misery in samsara, let's face it. Who is it?
But you could, in your travels, observe a moment of joy. What seems like.
They don't seem alienated, I noticed in India.
No.
It's accepted that there's
They're more
poverty.
integrated,
Yeah. Not that India's tough. A little ice over it. It wasn't as built up. I went, 31 years or 35 years, something like 85 I was there. It's a long time. Anyway, so that's the whole topic we're talking about. We're talking about what is contentment. And you don't get it from material things, let's be frank. The happiness that you have can only be experienced in the mind. The only place that you're happy is mentally. The things you own, you might think they make you happy, but with them is a little bit of anxiety about you're going to lose them. They might scratch my nice car. My nice girlfriend may leave me. My nice boyfriend, whatever you go after. But that's the point. So you have to be at rest in your own mind. And the only one that can do that is you. The Lama can't do it. They can point out some advice. So we're our own gurus again and again. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's the case. So we'll continue now from page 145. Cultivating contentment, His Holiness says, is especially important, I feel, in today's materialistic world of global consumerism. Global consumerism. It's all over. The malls are everywhere. Advertising is everywhere. Ouch. Materialistic society puts people under constant pressure to want more and to spend more long after their basic needs are satisfied. True, I think. Even here, where, sophisticated advertising is designed to excite the imagination and to generate a perception that material goods will make us happy, and that we are somehow lacking unless we acquire the latest accessory, gadget, or fashion item, the latest car, the latest designer drugs, whatever, the top shelf liquor. We can go on. I mean, the list is endless. But you have to be careful because we're easily seduced by these things. And you'll notice that wanting something and then not getting it, there's an unease in the mind. You wonder why somehow they got depressed all of a sudden, or I'm upset. What am I anxious about? You're probably this, I want that, I want this. And you know you can't get it, and deep down the mind is sending up signals. That's not good, that's not the way, and you sort of are conflicted. And everyone in the society goes along with, yeah, we got to have this, we got to have that. I don't know. But it's obvious if you look closely how these things manipulate you and throw you around. It's very strange. The materialism of, His Holiness goes on now, the materialism of modern society therefore makes the practice of moderation and contentment a daily necessity if we are to resist succumbing to a sense of personal dissatisfaction born of unrealistic craving. And you want and you don't have. You think you're going to feel good then? No matter how loud you talk to yourself, oh yeah, it's great. We're kind of smart underneath our surface, blabbing minds and stuff. We have deep Buddha nature, and it'll ring our bell to make us feel the start of doing anything to improve our situation is what? The acceptance that we're suffering. And we better seek advice. And so you go to the booth. So someone who lives with a tremendous, we say this all the time, the tremendous sinus headache or something, finally gives up and goes to the doctor. And he goes to the doctor and says, Doc, this is terrible, I don't know, I think I'm dying. So the doctor says, calm down. That's the truth of suffering. That's the first noble truth. That's why Buddha put it out front, even though it's not in secret. So he says, let me see. Oh, yes. You have a sinus infection, the cause of the suffering. The second noble truth, suffering, its cause. Well, am I going to die? No, 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 no. We can get rid of it. Okay. Truth of the goal. You can't, cessation. You can get rid of this suffering. The doctors, I'll do anything. What do I have to do? You got to take this medicine. You got to drink a lot of fuels of that. Truth of the path. So that's why they're in that sequence. When you finally get peed off or upset or finally realize I can't do it on my own, although you have to do it on your own, you go for help. You go for refuge. And the Buddha, and what? The Dharma. Not the person itself. The person itself, an enlightened being could take, if they could take suffering, they do it. No, they tell you, look, you got to do this. You got to take this medicine. That's how you get better. No. So that's the whole story, and that's something we have to do. And it's brought about by craving, and when you're craving, you go crazy. You know, we know this. You know, we're all here because of that. That's why we come to here. So anyway, he continues now. Controlling our desire for more, learning to live within realistic limits, is not only in our own individual interest. It is also necessary we are to overcome the challenge to life on earth that our incessant quest for more generates. Look out the window, the deteriorating environment. The material resources of this planet are finite. And we'll come to realize that, no matter what Exxon's publicity department tells us, it's finite. Add the facts that the global population is rising rapidly, and that those in the less developed countries naturally aspire to the same level of comfort enjoyed in the developed world, as is their right. And it becomes clear that our present path is unsustainable. Yes, these people have to have the same creature comforts we have, basic food, education, etc., and so forth, but we have to go about it in a skillful way. We take too much. You have to have the latest Porsche, put a $100,000 car on the street with the rest of the crappy cars on it. You got to be crazy. And where are you going to go with a high-performance car anywhere in the civilized world? Nowhere. You can't go too fast if you're not in traffic jams. So there's an unrealistic view, and it's prompted by very clever advertising to make people do what they know is actually counter to anything enjoyable. So the world's great natural spaces do not do much to maintain the environmental equilibrium of the planet. Yet, forests, oceans, and other natural environments are being encroached on and destroyed. And during my own lifetime, His Holiness says, many species of animals and plants have become extinct. So the comfortable modern lifestyle that many of us take for granted and many others aspire to actually come at a considerable cost. And you know what's beautiful about him? He goes from the mental action to the global effect. Our craving, or this, or that we have to have. And we're in the position to have some money and we can do it. And what are we doing? We're in unity with the rest of the world, and we're destroying the planet that these other people live on. How many island nations now are disappearing because of global warming? So we don't need to be told this. We figured it out already. But I like the way he shows that your individual mental moves make a difference in the macro. The micro affects the macro environment. So we are connected. We don't want to be sometimes. We want to be in our own little, but we are. Any comments, complaints? Write a letter to the editor, whatever you want to do. So he continues on page 145, the last line. The need for contentment, he goes right back to the individual mood. The need for contentment is painfully illustrated by the recent financial crisis. Now, this was in 12, and he's talking about the meltdown in 8. But there's always one on the stove ready to go. I mean, really. Good evening, Christina, and welcome to our humble abode. The replicas are still being felt across our deeply interdependent world, the key word, deeply interdependent world. It is easy to blame politicians for failing to sufficiently regulate financial institutions. Yes, we should. Let's not face it. It's easy, but we still got to do it. Let's do the easy thing first. They lie. Secondly, ultimately, though, the crisis was generated by, anyone want to take a guess? A 5-letter word?
Greed.
Yep. Starting with G, you win the prize. An extra bag of popcorn. Yeah, greed. Yeah. And people are proud of it. They show off about how much they have. And Now I'm going to space, everybody. Okay, stay there, by the way. We'll leave your money here. Greed itself, generated by greed itself, by the failure to exercise appropriate moderation and restraint in the blind quest for ever greater profits. And it's a blind quest. You're cutting the branch that you're sitting on. It's really stupid. The world is a unity, connected. You're going to destroy this, and eventually you destroy yourself. But this has been stated to these men, they're not listening. How we can make them listen, I don't know. Bribe them, maybe? That might work. Turn their greed onto them. I'm joking. Also, as an Italian businessman explained to me, there was excessive speculation. This was during the meltdown in 2008, who went out of business. This is a big firm. Who went out?
There was a play written called The Lehman Trilogy. about
Yes,
the
Lehman Brothers. Yeah.
Which I've seen several times here in London and America.
Really?
Which shows the brothers as they came to America in 1848.
Oh, it goes back.
And, it goes back to the origins of the company, and it goes all the way to the collapse in 2018. It's a magnificent piece of theater. If you ever have a chance to see it on the screen or...
No, I like those. They're very informative. And
it
was well done.
Yeah, it was well done and well acted, and they've done it in America and in Australia and on the West Coast, and it's back in London again. And sometimes the National Theatre broadcasts it on, like a video.
The British.
It's an excellent depiction of the corruption, the ambition and the corruption.
That's
and
good
the
to see. Yeah, Jennifer.
Speaking of media, it's funny, while Tony was talking, I was thinking about Gordon Gekko, Wall Street.
Yeah, greed is good.
Greed is good, and he was supposed to be the personification of evil, and that tagline was supposed to be the personification of evil. Greed is good, yet it inspired a whole generation
Yeah, I know.
to go to Wall Street,
Yes.
and their mantra was greed is good. And look what's happened.
Yeah.
They're living all over the West Village in $3,000 a month apartments.
Excuse me, West Village, they're in the East Village, and they're $7,000.
That's a bargain.
3,000. Yeah. This is the New York conversation, guys who don't live in New York.
There's a 5-bedroom building, 2 blocks from here. There's a New York conversation.
Oh,
No, 4 blocks from here.
you
They
mean
can
they're
buy
getting
2
rent stabilized apartments, Gene, but they're making a lot of money, is that what you're saying? You mean they're in rent stabilized buildings, but
They're playing market
I
rate.
got you, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yes, but in my building, which was all rent stabilized and now is full of finance and NYU, but finance pros, they took 2 rent stable apartments and combined them. One of them was the owner of CBGB's former apartment. If that's not a
What the bathroom look like in that apartment? If it looked like CBGB's, not worth it.
Well, what a metaphor. And they
Yeah.
combined the 2 apartments with 5 bedrooms, and it goes for $16,000 a month.
Ouch.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have a real living room or a real kitchen.
So you live among the wealthy.
Yeah, yeah, it's unbelievable. But the greed is a good thing, and it's just.
Yeah, I know. You see it. You can see it even in their actions. In restaurants, they don't behave and they nudge their way to the bar. They ruin the whole atmosphere. It's crazy. I know.
It's terrible.
There's a lot of easy money there, though. Especially bonus time in February in Wall Street.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But anyway,
Oh, wait,
we miss you, Jane. We know your little comments are very valuable. Thank you. I appreciate that, Ed.
And I was doing some research on something today, and I ended up on the Sotheby's site, the auctions, and there was an ad for the a new auction on Hermes pocketbooks.
Oh, yeah.
They're starting at $38,000, $40,000 a pocketbook.
For a pocket. Good. Go on the subway with that. See how long you last. Especially in the boroughs. Maybe Manhattan, you're all right.
Unbelievable.
Jamaica Station late at night. Parade around with that. What's next? Oh, Michael's antsy for the next book. The next thing is they find the killer. It's ego. And they're about to... No. So let's see what he says. There's excessive speculation. Now he's going to take apart the word speculation. Speculation itself means acting without full knowledge. It's gambling. acting without full knowledge. In this case, the level of caution and humility appropriate to actions undertaken without full knowledge was clearly absent. You think they'd be a little humble, or maybe it's a no. Bang down the doors, get it done. Here the problem was essentially one of arrogance and short-sightedness. That's a good combination for disaster, arrogance and short-sightedness. Mr. Trump, are you listening? Really? A third issue was the lack of transparency. True. These things take place, in an arcane, read the financial pages, so much jargon you can't even get to the story, This lack of transparency, which allowed dishonesty and deceit to thrive unchecked. I like the way he pulls all this apart. And he's sitting in the monks' quarters in Dharamsala. He's very astute. There was nothing inevitable about any of these factors. They are all simple ethical failings, chief among which is, you got it again, greed, our old friend, greed. And the only effective antidote to greed is moderation and contentment. So we can't go on Wall Street and change everything, just sit there with a box and preach. But we could look into our own mind to see these subtle things where we're greedy, we're not content, we're overrating these external things because they really can't bring you contentment. We overrate them.
Can you repeat the antidote again?
The antidote, yes, and it's on page 146 for those keeping score. Moderation and contentment. The effective antidote to greed is moderation and contentment. So don't eat 3 ice cream bars, eat only 2. There's ice cream for you, Christina, before it melts. You can grab it. Whoever wants. Maya wants some ice cream? There's a bar there. Go ahead, it's on the counter. This is informal here. It's like somebody's, crash pad. Just do what you want here. Of course, in extolling the benefits of simplicity and moderation, His Holiness says, I'm not suggesting that poverty is acceptable. No, it's worse. On the contrary, poverty is a tremendous hardship, one that we must do all we can to end. In addition to making survival a struggle, poverty tends to disempower people and make them feel cowed or demoralized. I think that's true politically. You can see it works. It can lead to profound mental distress and rob people of any opportunity for improvement of their economic situations. In these ways, it makes the poor suffer greatly. On the personal level, however, the sooner we accept that riches alone do not bring happiness, and the sooner we learn to live with a sense of modesty, the better off we will be, especially with respect to our happiness. And by the way, not burning up all these resources, the happier, there'll be less poverty. Prices will be lower, etc. Demand brings up price. You got to have the $30,000, what is it, $30 to $40,000 Hermes. Oh, that's great to parade around it.
Or even, I paid near Nordstrom's and I walked through and I happened to spray a perfume and I liked it. And I found out that it was like $450 for a bottle. And so
Cocaine's cheaper, by the way, if you want
when I go
to.
to the Art Students League, I go in and I spray myself and I keep going. And the salespeople, hello, and I just keep going. It's like, I can't.
God bless you. That's an old statement from the wrong religion. Yeah, no, I can't fathom it either.
It's like, make your own coffee. Don't spend like $6 for.
I was reading about this physician who was treating those women imprisoned in Saudi Arabia, and the amount of riches that are there. And of course, they're Muslim. There's plenty of liquor. There's plenty of cocaine, all kinds of drugs in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Oof. And the amount of money they have is staggering. It's a New Yorker article. You can probably get it online now. It's about the doctor that treated those 4 captive wives of one of these sheiks. And their mother escaped, but they didn't. And they were drugged in captivity.
Oh, I read about that.
Yeah.
The ones in London.
The mother's in London, yeah. One escaped and then was captured and brought back. Is that bad? I mean, come on. Stray dogs do better. Well, there's a lot of wealth in the world that I'm glad I don't even see it. That's what I don't even think about it. I have enough to eat and a place to sleep. That's it. What?
The bigger the wealth, the bigger the corruption.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But that's how they got there, yeah. Next page, he says, time and geography will always impose limits on how much wealth anyone can succeed in accruing in a single lifetime. And that's true. We can't send it ahead. Everything we have materially is gone. We're gone. That's it. We'll even forget our names. We don't. So unless you're a High Lama that gets reborn, then they save things for you. They send it ahead, so to speak. They have it reserved. But that's true. So we have to remind ourselves that, that given this natural limit, which is there whether we like it or not. So we don't like the ego doesn't want to think that way. Oh, I run the world. No, that's a natural limit. Forget about it. Don't go against it. You'll be miserable. Given this natural limit, it seems wiser to set one's own limits through the exercise of contentment. In contrast, when it comes to acquiring mental riches, key word, mental riches, the potential is limitless because the mind is not physical. It's not bound by any of the rules of physical substances. Here, where there is no natural limit, it is appropriate not to be contented with what you have, but to constantly strive for more mental expansion, more mental qualities, miraculous powers and everything. For what? You could help people more that way. So you shouldn't be content with that. That's not the place to be complacent. You should study, you should learn. Darren, I hear an echo. I don't care, Darren. You could want to make it loud. Doesn't bother. So here, when there's no one, not to be content, he's saying, when you constantly strive for more qualities, mental qualities. Unfortunately, most of us do the exact opposite. We are never quite satisfied with what we have materially, but we tend to be thoroughly complacent about our mental riches. No, I don't want to study now. I'll do this, and that. So what do you do, like in terms of discipline to studying? So you have to fool yourself and take little bites. Keep the books around, read 4 or 5 lines. Next morning, get up, maybe 4 or 5, little at a time. We're not great scholars that were brought up in a monastery as children, learned how to memorize a lot at once and all that. We're here in the world being banged around by the society that doesn't even know what Buddhism is. So we have to take small bites, but they nourish us. You'd be surprised. And you have something favorite, you keep it around, you read it every so often. That builds you up. It makes you happy to go read something. Well, and when you overdo it, you throw the book across the room. But as best as we can, because let's not kid ourselves. We were in a monastery where we're disciplined and we're given things to do every 5 minutes and prayers to say. It might be a little different, but maybe we're not ready for that. Let's be realistic, especially some of us who are on in years like me. It's, maybe next life, but a few more next life, not right away. All right, so self-discipline, oh boy, really? Page 147. Closely connected, His Holiness says, to the value of contentment is that of self-discipline. Listen to me. In fact, the value of contentment presupposes the exercise of some degree of self-discipline, as indeed do all the inner values discussed in this book. Don't cringe at the word self-discipline. It's your own person disciplining yourself in the right manner. Carefully, slowly, gently. You can't go, got to do this, I'm going to do it on a cram, and then you'll go crazy. Everyone does that. They first find, I'm going to go to a retreat, I'm going to do this. First, slowly go over these points. The important point about the virtue of self-discipline is that it must be voluntarily embraced. So how do you do that? You think of the benefits. I got to do this now. I got to, go take an ice bath or something. No. Self-discipline means you are controlling it. Voluntarily embraced. When discipline is imposed from the outside, it is very rarely effective and sometimes can even be counterproductive. Those of you who got forced in the army or some other place, or maybe joined a religious order or something, you found out right away if you were really sincere or not. You have to take your time. When discipline is imposed by fear, either fear of some external authority or fear stemming from our own cultural or religious conditioning, the individual often feels very little enthusiasm for it. And I think this covers a lot of the religious practitioners in the various religions today, including Islam, where they, either convert or you die. Of course I converted. Things like that in the old days, and sometimes now, and in modern era, in places like Africa, when these people come through. So, as a result, imposed discipline rarely brings about inner transformation. That could be a bumper sticker. Imposed discipline rarely brings about inner transformation. And you know what else also doesn't bring about inner transformation? Mortification of the flesh. Torturing the body does not improve the mind. The Buddha found that out. The statue of the Buddha is a skeleton. Somebody said, "What are you doing? Here, drink this." And everybody has maybe it was yogurt, maybe it was this. The Italians say it was mozzarella, but anyway, he ate something. The Burmese say, what? It was fish soup they gave him. Yeah. And he felt better right away. So you got to moderate your eating, okay? So that's very important. On the other hand, okay, if we adopt self-regulation voluntarily, out of appreciation of its value and benefits of restraining from bad habits, it is only natural for us to undertake it with greater determination. So if you want it, you see the benefits, and you realize this is my decision, nobody's telling me to do this, I think it's time. You'll take it with greater determination. This in turn makes our self-discipline more enduring. It's not 3 days of this and I can't take this. So, anyone have any experience with that? You have to do 50,000 mantras in 2 weeks or something like that. If it's imposed, it's difficult.
What about fasting?
Fasting with moderation. And if you're ready for it. If you're not, forget it. Don't even think about it. When you're winding up with headaches and stuff like that, or you shouldn't fast, take your time. A high yogi, yeah, they can eat a seed and that's it. Something like that. They've controlled a lot of their, was it sympathetic or the autonomous nervous system, so they don't get thirsty, but that's not us. You read all these adventures in Buddhism, and you want to do it milrepidate. You go right away. There's a lot of woods around here. Go ahead.
But never mind that. What's more serious is that all these people are going to initiations at this holiness day, and it's become very, very popular. People want to take initiations.
Yeah.
Then they go there and they take the initiations, and then the commitments come with it, and they don't do it.
Of course, yeah.
That's serious.
Yes.
But what do you do?
You're right.
You can't do anything.
No, you're right. Well, no, Rinpoche said you go in your mind, you're going to see what it's like. You're going to take it as a blessing. If you went to the place like that, then you don't incur the commitments, because your mindset was, let's see what's going on here. Let me get the inclination of future life, all that, stuff like that. When we went to College Chakra in Wisconsin the first time, I said, what the hell's going on? He said, no, you're only good. You understand 3 to 5%? Very good. Yeah, I understood taking refuge, and then, no, that's sufficient. In a way, he was very practical. That advice lasted all these years. And that was 1981. It's a long time. But that's what he said. Be careful, It's a mental posture. I'm taking this as a commitment. Well, then, first of all, if you're doing that, before you go in, you should have some familiarity with what it entails.
You also have to find out what are the commitments.
Yes, exactly, yes. Yeah, and you could inquire beforehand. You say, well, somebody else, a senior students, well, then I can't do that. And they'll tell you, well, just go and take it as a blessing. Just go and see what it's like. And slowly, you planted the seeds, because they're very good at these lamas, with a gesture, with this, a move, a tone of voice. Something's planted in you deep down where you're very, very smart. Don't forget we have Buddha nature. It'll percolate up. You'll find it. But it takes time. It's not a half hour or 2 weeks later. No. I wish it was, by the way. I'm a firm advocate of lobbying for that. But yeah, that's the thing. That's what he told me, because I didn't know it. And he probably told you the same thing. I'll bet. Yeah. And if you have a few commitments, there's ways of combining them. Nikki does that, and Rinpoche did it. There's the refuge part and everything. There's the bodhicitta part. Okay, so you do it with one, the next sadhana, you don't have to do all that. You cut to the chase of the visualization of that particular deity, etc. And the motivation's the same, to benefit sentient beings. And then there's different little techniques. At the high level, it's one-on-one with the Lama, which I'm not familiar with at all, but that's different. That's personal, but that's, you're already fairly well off with that, well on the path, or whatever it is. What else can you do? You know, you want to go see that, always go. A great Lama is giving some, you want to be in his or her presence. You want to get set up inclination for the next life, why not? So it's not foolish driving hours and hours to go upstate to Sakya Trinzen, or, you know, it's very useful. It's a great thing. Be thankful you got the means to get there and smart enough to know what's good for you. You're eating your vegetables. Hey, you're a spiritual vegetable. I don't know. But it does help you. In order to cultivate such voluntary embrace self-discipline, we must once again take time to appreciate and dwell upon its many benefits. Exactly. Cost-benefit analysis. It's like Wall Street. Not just for ourselves, ooh, the Mahayana attitude, but also for others, and even for humanity at large. So that's what we're carrying now, the well-being of everyone. We took the Bodhisattva vow when we started the class. So our success helps them. So we can't turn our backs on them if we're sincere. And we ourselves, being new students, we know what it's like not to even know about Buddhism. So, holy smoke, there's this method here. When I was a kid, nobody had slight knowledge of this at all. I knew the word Buddha, that's all, but I thought it was like the Chinese Maitreya, with the big gun. You know.
But when the movie The King and I came out
Oh, Yul Brynner.
with Yul Brynner,
Yeah. Yul Brynner.
the Buddha was spoken about in that film.
No. And that gave you the inclination?
No, the inclination must come from some previous life, but in this life, that I think is the first time
Yeah.
that I came across
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, maybe.
mentioned.
I went to St. Anthony's Catholic School on McDougal in Houston. It's right not far from here. Half a mile.
And in that
No
film,
Buddha.
and in that film Around the World in 80 Days,
Phineas Fogg.
which preceded it, there was an exposure to something of Indian culture. It may have been twisted or warped or.
Yeah,
but
but something came into the
some-
consciousness.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
some.
Who knows? That's when Rich used to say, put up Tonkas, birds and animals see it is very beneficial. All right, okay. I'm all for it. And it's free of charge. No. So, let me see what time we have. Oh, we got to get on a horse. In order to cause voluntary employee acceptance, we must again take time to appreciate and dwell on its benefits, not for ourselves, but for others, and even for humanity at large. By doing this, we can generate the enthusiasm required to maintain our motivation and determination. So he's saying, going over analytically the benefits of this, the faults of not doing it, suddenly automatically brings out an energy of determination to do it. So from the analytical and the, what's the word, conceptual thinking comes a stronger underground energy that's pushing you towards this. So don't, oh, that's conceptual. No, that's important. That's a part of the path. So you'll find that works, you know. It is useful to begin by reflecting on the harm we do to ourselves, even physically, when we succumb to temptation and bad habits. Ha ha ha! Drinking, smoking, whatever, you know. Then we can also consider the harm that our bad habits inflict on others. It is easy to assume that our personal behavior and habits have no real effect on others, but this is seldom the case. We're not alienated. We're in with people. What we do affects everyone. Suppose, for example, that one member of a family is addicted to drugs, and a lot of us can speak for that. Although, of course, the other family members will not suffer the direct physical and mental ill effects of the drug, this does not mean that they will not be harmed. In all likelihood, they will be deeply afflicted by worry and concern, as well as by whatever other agonies and complications may accompany the situation. We've all heard terms of alcoholic households, narcotically addicted households, etc. So when considering the harm we inflict through a lack of self-discipline in our personal habits, we should always be mindful of those who care about our welfare and whose welfare is intimately connected to our own. The mothers of the junkies, etc., things like that. The mothers of those who, screaming alcoholics. It's tough. We have one mother whose son is an alcoholic in Tibet, and she suffers. She's never happy, always worrying about her son, which is a noble thing. It can also be useful to consider the harmful effects of a lack of self-discipline on a wider social level. In my view, the problem of corruption, which is prevalent in so many parts of the world, Eric, are you listening? Adams, that is. Many parts of the world is actually nothing but a failure of self-discipline. Corruption's all over the place. His Holiness says, these Indian officials in the morning, Shakti, Shiva, and then they go to work and they're taking bribes. He says, you can't live that way. So, corruption is always a surrender to self-serving attitudes of greed, bias, and dishonesty. A surrender to those things. Even the existence of a fair and just legal system becomes of little value when that system is paralyzed by corruption. With the awareness that comes from contemplating the consequences of a lack of self-discipline, we can gradually develop a greater ability to resist temptation in our own life. Eventually, with sustained practice, self-discipline will start to come naturally and will no longer require conscious effort and willpower. We can program ourselves. What's the problem? Do it, We begin to feel the great sense of freedom that comes with self-mastery. Freedom comes with self-mastery. Nice little theme. This virtue of self-discipline is extolled in all the world's major religious traditions. In Islam, for example, a strong emphasis is placed on the virtue of sabir, steadfastness, control, patience, or fortitude, and those who have this quality are called the sabirin and are said to be beloved of God. Gaining mastery over our destructive propensities through the exercise of awareness and self-discipline at the levels of body, speech, and mind, the three levels, body, speech, and mind, don't forget those, frees us from the inner turmoil that naturally arises when our behavior is at odds with our ideals. I don't have to say anything about that. I think everybody understands that. When your behavior is at odds with your ideals, if you're smart, you boot yourself in. Stop it. In place of the turmoil comes confidence, integrity, and dignity, heroic qualities all humans naturally aspire to. So, any comments? That's all we'll cover tonight. Tomorrow night we'll go to generosity. So I think his comments are very good. He's also very aware of what the world is all about. It's very, and you could read the paper and verify all of what he's saying about society or watch the news or whatever you do, It's crazy. It really is. The way people torture themselves and create environments that are unhealthy. And as the years go on, less and less emphasis on the nice things, the arts, less and less funded than when I was a kid. It's crazy. All the good things. The artists have to struggle more than anyone. The musicians don't make any money anymore, right, Darren? It's sad. You can't get easy studio space, right? More big spaces just be available cheap. Less and less. Greed.
Only in India.
Well, and you better hurry up because I'm sure they're getting the word there too. The International Real Estate Investment Trust.
Unfortunately, India government is kicking the tourists out to overstay.
Well, that's
Like
good.
me.
You weren't a tourist, you weren't less a resident. They should realize that. There should be a cultural, what's the word?
They're not thinking very straight because tourists are bringing a lot of money.
Yeah, I know.
If the tourists are staying long term, that means they're also hiring local.
Yes,
agents,
like you do.
which I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but
And they're bringing nice dogs instead of the stray dogs on the street.
they didn't like that either. I mean, they gave
Yeah,
me
I
a
know.
lot of problems.
You can't deal with politicians with logic. They don't live on it.
Let's just hope that the government changes.
Yeah, all of them. No. Any other comments? Feel free. So we'll not be here next week. We're trying to find another presence in Manhattan. this general area. You're not going to get anything by the Museum of Natural History or uptown or anything. So the general downtown area, which is served by all the transportation lines, et cetera. So we have a few irons in the fire. So we'll, and I know Nikki, well, we have people that have spaces. We're going to go there, see what the price is and all that stuff.
It's so cold around.
Yeah, it's hard, but we'll get something. I'm going to have prayers at Rato. What?
Try Henry Street.
Yeah, we'll also have a ceremony done at Rato Monastery. It doesn't hurt.
What? So-
A ceremony, a Lux ceremony done at Rato
Oh,
Monastery.
definitely.
About a week or so, as soon as I get a hold of Nicky. He's going down there. I'd rather have it done when he's on site. So he walks around and cracks the whip as the ex-abbot. You, stand up. I don't know, I don't know what goes, but when we've had, yeah, but he's a Kensur, he still has rank.
Kenzur.
Kensur, yes, he's not Kempo anymore, he's Kensur. But they still have a room for him and all that. And he's also going to visit with French Marianne, whose monastery is up down the road a little bit from them. You could walk there. Jangcho Bling, something like Bodhisattva place, something like that. So
She's down in.
she's down there now. She's no longer at up in the Dharamsala. No, she went to.
I've been to her a number of times.
Yeah, no, she's very happy down there. It's a serious discipline. She has to memorize the ornament of clear realization. Abhisamaya Lamkara
Oh my God.
ornament. She has to memorize that
Pages.
in Tibetan.
Pages.
In Tibet. She has a couple of months to do it. You know.
Oh my God.
And you know where you go in and the teacher opens the book at random and starts the sentence and you got to finish it.
Big stick.
Yeah, probably. I don't know what they were.
Big stick.
Well,
They mean it.
Or mean dogs, junkyard dogs. They've graduated to that. No more. I know, I'm
The
joking.
disciplinarians
Yeah, they know.
are more vicious.
And quick, not just. Let me see. Yeah. Oh, hold on.
They actually hit them. Yeah.
Sure. What? No, go ahead. Say whatever. Okay. So anyway, we're trying. We'll let you know. Check the website. Meantime, 2 nights a week. We'll do Tuesday night and Wednesday night online. Starting the 11th, we'll do Monday night and Wednesday night, which we used to do all the time. So people find 2 nights. November 11th is a Monday. That'll be the first Monday online.
So for October, you're gonna keep the.
We'll keep Tuesday, Wednesday. Right. There's only a couple of more weeks. And then it'll be easy if we get a space to have one night, then a break, and then another night. So we'll see.
It's difficult to come to, it's difficult for New Yorkers to go.
It is. It is difficult to go to Jersey.
Yeah.
Another alternative might be down the road thinking something in Jersey City or Hoboken that you could just take the PATH train to. PATH train's very fast, 7 minutes under the river.
That's out of the city.
It's out of the city, but not really. You feel like you're in the city, the way it's built up.
It's out of the city.
I mean, it's difficult for me to come
Yeah,
there.
we-
It's not difficult, but all I have to do is to jump on the subway from
We
Queens
could find
to
some in
here.
Brooklyn
I
too.
can think of 2
Right.
churches
Yeah, we're
in the
not Brooklyn.
village that
Yeah.
have space
We'll find
and
some.
programs, and there's Greenwich House as well.
Yeah, it's Greenwich House still around. What's the story
Yes,
with them?
Greenwich House is on Barrow Street.
I know where it is. I grew up there.
Yeah, it's still there,
Still there.
and, you know, I don't know what their programs are.
Charlie doesn't have a voice there anymore, does he? Charlie. Charlie used to teach pottery there.
He didn't teach, he potted around the corner.
He potted around the corner. He potty trained.
There's Greenwich House.
Yeah, I know Greenwich House. Been around since I was a kid. They used to run a summer camp.
There's the
Yeah.
pottery on Jones Street.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the music school that's on the other side of 7th Avenue. But the
All right.
building itself.
All right,
then
well,
there's
we'll
St.
check them
John's-
out.
There's St. John's on 11th Street.
And St. Luke's, they're not in business anymore. Hudson Street, nothing there.
St. Luke's is still there.
But not,
They have a school.
yeah.
They're 2 blocks from the
Yeah.
1 train.
Well, we'll see. We have 2, let's go to interviews. What?
There's the Mertz Gilmore Foundation in Gramercy, but that's only 15 people. And
Yeah,
then,
it's kind of small.
and then I started calling around the hotels around here because they all have big conference rooms.
They have ballrooms and stuff, but it comes with a big,
No, but they have smaller conference
Yeah.
rooms and they pay so much lip service, and that's all it is to what they do for the community. And
Yeah,
I've been
because
calling vice presidents.
all these things, just text Darren. It takes a few minutes.
Because
And he's the clearinghouse. All these ideas will be sifted through. We'll sit there and we'll go over them. It won't be,
Hotel conference rooms generally entail.
this is business meeting now.
Coffee service or catering service.
So let's do the prayers, and we can continue this after the prayers.
Online waiting for
Yeah, people are online. I'm sorry, people are online, but if you have anything out there, text Darren Smith. Or you call me up, whatever. I don't care. I'm up late, so I drink too much coffee.
Oh, but it's still online?
We're still online. Yes, everybody can read our dirty laundry and see what we're up to these days.
Elizabeth Nisos.
Elizabeth Nisos, people who have died, we're praying for. What?
That's the only one that's.
Okay. And of course, all the people who have died and all the wars going on around the world, take your pick. Spin the globe and put your finger. It's a troubled spot. Sutra of the Recollection, Noble Three Jewels, I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavat, Tathagata, Arahat, Samyaksang Buddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strengths cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats, who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavat, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy, and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Jnana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivable Therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. And our final component, prayer for the swift return of Ranto Chunla Rinpoche, written by His Holiness Dalai Lama. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop. Sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Lozang Tubuang Dorje Chang. Please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the Victor Lozang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till cyclic existence's end to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings and wish-fulfilling jewel, return as the glory of Lozang Tenpe, magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Sri Mata Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors. May you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moon-like face. Okay, you can kill it. Thank you. Thank you all for coming all these years. Some of you have been here 30 years. Thank you so much. No